I'm finally taking this big bag of lard out of the freezer. I pulled it out last night so that it thawed overnight. We're gonna get this in the 22-quart roaster pan. My plan is to render this down and hopefully pressure can it to make it shelf stable. That way I don't have to keep it in my fridge. First time I'm ever doing that, but we gotta get this out of the freezer so I have room to put our turkey that I need to purchase for Christmas in the freezer. My plan is to get 2 turkeys from Aldi. That is the limit, and I'm hoping that I can maybe can up a turkey. I would like to do some cans of just plain turkey, maybe some turkey pot pie filling for the canning shelf. So we got to get this out of the freezer to make those other plans possible. So this is the plan for today. I have a couple other small projects I want to work on today, but first things first, very early in the morning, let's get this in the roaster pan and get this rendering down. This is from a whole pig, and we went through a different butcher this time, and they actually ground the lard, which the other butcher didn't do. So I'm very excited about that. It's gonna make it a lot easier to render. I'm turning this on a pretty low temperature just because I don't want it to burn. That can happen to me in my roaster pan. One of you guys told me that I can fill the bottom of this with water and it'll have it a little bit more even heat. I'm not doing that because, to be honest, I'm a little nervous about doing it. Let me know down below if you guys do that. But we're just gonna push this back and kind of set it and forget it until I'm ready to kind of tackle some other things in the kitchen today. This day ended up turning out to be a little bit of a scrambled day. I had to leave the house to go pick up a sick kid from school. So I just ended up kind of like breaking apart this lard, letting it continue to render down. I did not let it render down as much as I should have. Usually you want all those little floaty bits to be rock hard, really crispy. I opted not to do that. I did lose out on a little bit of lard that way, but I think it's overall going to end up being okay. So I'm not super worried about it. Did I do it to perfection? No, but that's just the reality of what this day ended up being. I had all intentions of getting ready for the day and all of the things, and then I got a phone call from the school. One of my kids was sick, so I had to go pick them up and spent a lot of time on the couch with sick kids, well, sick child. Everybody has fallen asleep now, so I can still do this project today, which is good because I didn't want to have to stop halfway through this project with all of our lard here and have to finish this off tomorrow, because then I would have to heat it back up to get it. It will solidify once it gets cooler, and the reason I put this project off for so long to begin with is because it stinks. It's not the most pleasant smell. It's not like rancid or anything by any means, but it definitely lingers, and it's gonna take a day or two for all of this pork fat smell to like get out of the house. But we gotta do what we gotta do sometimes, and I need room for my turkey like we've talked about. So here we are. All of the little chunkies that I'm taking out with my strainer here, I could give these to my chickens, I could give them to the dogs, or they can go in the trash. It really just depends on what you want to do with them. Usually I just throw them out, but I get my lard from our pig when we order it because it's part of the hanging weight. So I am paying for this lard whether I decide to take it or not. So I decide to take it because I'm paying for it, and I have found ways to use them. Our personal most common way is I use them in doughs for when I make pasties. You can use them in cookies and biscuits and pie crust and all those things. It's just an alternative fat. You just use it in place of butter or something like that, or in place of something like a coconut oil or whatever your oil or the fat. But here we are. Another reason I put this project off is because it makes a mess. It doesn't matter how slowly you pour through this strainer, you're always gonna have some get on the outside of your jars. That's why I have this on a towel here. And I can see I'm already making like the biggest mess, just getting oil everywhere. And then it makes your counters kind of greasy and slicky and oily. And it's just, it's not the cleanest project and it's not the most fragrant, but here we are. It's well worth it for me just because fats are something that we go through so quickly, and as trying to add things to like the emergency storage and long-term storage, food storage, this is just too fantastic of a product not to have, just because it's shelf stable. I really thought I had to can this. I don't know why I thought I had to can this, but I've been looking it up all day, and it seems as though you can just put it in a cool, dark place and it'll last for a good amount of time that way. So I'm gonna be storing these in our basement on our food storage shelf. It doesn't get hot down there. Even in the summer, it stays pretty cool. So I'm thinking that these should last a good amount of time down there, and I won't have to keep them in my fridge anymore. So we learn something new all the time, and today that's what I learned. I don't know why I thought I had to can this, but I really did. I really thought that I had to pressure can this. But here we are. After I go ahead and get this taken care of, assuming my sick kid is still resting and napping, I have some Christmas items that I want to kind of experiment with today. That was my original plan for today. I want to make some sugar scrubs with some homegrown herbs and things that we grew over the summer. I have spearmint in particular that I'm very excited about. I have an oil that we made together, and I also have just some dehydrated spearmint. So I want to make 2 body scrubs or 2 sugar scrubs, and I want to make one with the infused oil and one with just the dehydrated spearmint. That way I can see which one I think works better, smells the best, all of those things before I hand them out as Christmas gifts this year. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm just going to finish filling up all of my rendered lard here. This is the most lard I've ever done at a time. Usually, well, lately we've been doing half a pig because we buy our pigs from our neighbors, and that's just what they've had available for us. But this time they asked if we could do a whole pig, or they had a whole pig, so we decided to do that. And so now I have twice the amount of lard to do, which is not a bad thing, but it's just taking a little bit longer than I'm used to. And I'm gonna be very happy to get this project done. Another reason I wanted to get this project done is, even though it's November here in Wisconsin, it's still like 50 degrees. So I can open up the windows and try to air out some of this stinky pork smell. I have my kitchen window open right now, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of time to air things out before it gets too cold and it starts to get dark and the temperature drops and I can have to shut the windows again. But for now, it's helping a lot to have a little bit of ventilation running through the house. Okay, I have to open up a couple more jars. I made the biggest mess. I don't know if you can see all of this. It is drenched. I dripped a lot just because the strainer I'm using, it's not ideal for this project, but it's what I have, so it's what I'm working with. I'm gonna have to buy a different strainer, figure something else out for projects like this, but because I'm gonna have tallow all over the outside of these jars. Once these cool and everything solidifies, once these cool, they're going to turn a white color, a little bit more clear. I will wash the outside of these jars and get them so they're not slippery and slimy and yucky before I put them downstairs on the storage shelf. I'm thinking I probably have, man, I don't even know how many more quarts I think I have here, but I'm just gonna finish filling this up and I'll catch up with you guys when I'm ready to start making sugar scrubs. Do end up pressure canning this. I just could not let it go that I was pretty sure that you had to pressure can this. I just could not let that fact go. So literally right after this, I ended up calling one of my neighbors who is an avid pressure canner and asked her, and she went, you know, well, you probably should. You don't necessarily have to. You could freeze it or put it in the fridge, but if you want it to be shelf stable, I would definitely just pressure can it. So she gave me the instructions on that. It's 10 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes for my quarts here. So shout out to my lovely neighbor who ended up being my glossary for this day. So that ended up working out pretty good for me because I didn't end up having to pressure can it. I looked in my pressure canning manual here for a recipe, and I looked in my ball preservation cookbook for a pressure canning for my lard. I didn't find any, so I think it's gonna be okay. I'm sure people will correct me in the comments if I'm not. I think I'm just gonna store them in the fridge for a couple days, maybe until this video goes out. That way, if I do need to pressure can it and somebody corrects me in the comments, my lard will still be safe and I can just pop her in the pressure canner and work on it that way. But I want to do my sugar scrubs. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, so I'm gonna do 2 parts sugar, 1 part coconut oil, add in a little bit of our spearmint oil or my dried spearmint. I'm just gonna use these 4-ounce mason jars that I have and mix it up. This is a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then I'm just gonna do half of a 1/4 cup, whatever that exact measurement ends up being here. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Now I'm going to put in a little bit of our spearmint oil here. If you're wondering how I made this, it's just dried spearmint that I put in a mason jar with some olive oil, just some cheap olive oil that I got from Sam's Club. I'm gonna put probably 3-ish tablespoons in this one, and then in this one I'm going to just take some of our dried spearmint here. I'm going to try to just get the leaves, not put any stems in there, just because I don't think that would be very pleasant when you're scrubbing your body down, especially in the shower and your skin's a little bit softer. And I'm just going to mix these up and kind of give these a test run over the next couple of weeks. That way when it comes time to making these to hand out as gifts, I know a little bit better what I think is personally best, or maybe it's going to be a mixture of a little bit of the spearmint oil and a little bit of just dried spearmint flakes. So very, very simple today. Moral of the story is definitely trust your instincts. I just could not let it go that I was pretty sure I had to pressure can this, but I could not find a resource saying that. And sometimes your best resources are neighbors or family members, people who know a little bit more than you. So I did run this through the pressure canner, feeling very good about that. I had 2 jars not seal on me, which is definitely okay. I'm still very new to pressure canning, so I do have more lid failures in my pressure canner for whatever reason, but I think this is only like my 4th batch of pressure canning I've ever done, so still learning a little bit. And I really think the issue is I need new rings. So we're definitely going to invest in that before next canning season, but overall very happy with this. Learned a new project today, got some more things on the canning shelf, and we made some sugar scrubs. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope wherever you are, you're having a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys in another one.